Liverpool have got a potential over 28 games to come, and we can't be affording to burn out in that time. Jurgen Klopp has got his rest coming up there after he's having a year off, I think he said, suffering from a little bit of an overload and burnout himself. But yeah, for Liverpool between now and then, this is the main reason I wanted to talk to you, really, because how much will Klopp and indeed the rest of the staff, Pep Linders, be leaning on the sports science department and the fitness department, etc., between now and the end of the season when it comes to who is fit and available? And as you mentioned earlier on, like, will training suddenly take a massive dip because they are playing so much? Like, this could be the season to end all seasons, essentially. It could be absolutely phenomenal. But how important is it that we get it right from every single possible point of view? Because the marginal gains between now and the end of the season could be absolutely imperative.
Oh, absolutely. It's a huge challenge. And everyone's involved. You know, it's the coaches, the fitness staff, nutrition, massage, physiotherapy. You know, it's all working together to try and get the best out of these players for the next 3 months. And I doubt that there's too many players who are going to be able to play every game. So you know, it's a matter of adjusting the squad and determining who's ready to play and who's not. And that's where science comes in a bit. I think science can certainly help. I mean, obviously, I'm sure Jurgen he's got and his staff will observe and talk to players and so on. But players aren't going to tell them that I'm not feeling too flash today, coach. I mean, I think that's where sports science can really help. And there's a lot of data there that can show when people are well, we can tell from heart rate data and GPS data and so on, where players are overcooked and so on. So as I said before, I don't think they'll do much training. The players who are playing regularly are not going to do much training. They won't need to if they're playing twice a week. And then there's travel. They're travelling in Europe and so on and so on. So it's hugely challenging. One of the really important things that we haven't talked about is sleep. And sleep is just absolutely, I think we now realise more than ever how important sleep is. Yeah. And sleep is challenging. You take last night, you finish the game at, 10 o'clock, you probably get home at, 11:30, you can't go straight to, you're not going to be such a, imagine Conor Bradley is sort of buzzing for about 3 hours and so on.
Yeah.
So that's challenging. And, so in the old days, you would have said, oh, well, they've got to be in at 9 o'clock this morning. Well, I'm sure they're not in at 9 o'clock this morning, and so, things like that is sleep is really important. And same when you're travelling, into Europe and so on, you're in strange hotels, you're on planes. I mean, that's a really important aspect. So a lot of time is spent on sort of sleep hygiene, sleep education, working out the best way to get adequate sleep. So that's really very important, I think. And then, just recovery in general from games is going to become so important. Yeah. Get the nutrition right, get the fluids right, get the massage right, so that, 48 hours after one game, you're ready to do a bit of quality training. It won't be a huge amount, but just do a little bit of training, and then, the next day you might play a game and so on. So, but there will be, there's minor injury, niggles and hopefully not too many serious injuries, but there's going to be wear and tear injuries for sure. And, I don't think any player ever goes onto the pitch absolutely 100%, feeling there's always, a niggle here or some soreness or the aftermath of the previous game. And so, that the more we can minimise that, the better. So there'll be a lot of maintenance work, a lot of maintenance, massage, physiotherapy. The gym plays an important role, maintaining strength and so on. But they'll be off legs a lot. They'll be in the pool a fair bit, on the bike. Just keeping their sort of heart rate up and not doing too much work on their legs. So it's as I said, it's an art and a science, and it takes a team approach. And the key to it is all working together. If the science people think that they've got all the answers, or the football people think that it's all combining our knowledge and our experience, and they've all had a lot of experience now, and so you take advantage of that, and just get the best the best result you can. It might be perfect. There'll be injuries. There'll be people who lose form, but we've got to do what we can to try and maximise that.
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned earlier on, like the squad depth now at Liverpool with the quality of players that are coming back as well, and the ones that have made their way back to training or in the squads or whatever it may be. Like that feels, from a footballing point of view, that feels like a huge plus, really, because the squad isn't a skeleton squad anymore. You're not turning to the likes of Thiago in years gone by and asking them to go again and again and again. You can afford to take people out if they are getting near to a red zone in training or whatever it may be, or they are showing signs of fatigue. You can afford to say, do you know what, I don't need to take a risk on you today. And I think the Europa League's been a bit of a blessing in disguise for that as well, because albeit Liverpool got the job done quite comprehensively, they didn't need to start their best 11 week in, week out to do so. I think that's been massive for Liverpool so far this season.
Yeah, I think so, and same with the Carabao Cup, and they've played some of their better players off the bench and so on. So you just give them a little bit of a break. Yeah. But now things get serious now. So you can't you can't do too much of that. But they're going to clearly rotate, and they're in a good position now because they've discovered a few extra players, haven't they? And which has been terrific. And you'd think when you lost TAA and Robbo, a couple of months ago, disaster, and but the two have done well. So it's a credit to the club that that they were able to step up. They were obviously ready, and just sitting on the sidelines waiting, and that's a challenge, when players are not playing, to have them ready to go, maximum fitness, psychologically right, because it can be pretty depressing if you're not playing, and so you've got to get the head right and the body right for those players, and who knows, there might be someone who doesn't play all year and then you get an injury and you need them for the Europa League final or, the last game of the Premier League or something. And they've got to be spot on, ready to go from a physical and a training point of view and mentally as well. So that's a huge challenge. So it's not just, your top 11 or, 13 or 14 players. You've got to have the whole squad, attention to the whole squad. And that's, it's so important.
Well, therein lies the genius of Jurgen Klopp for me, because he's brilliant in every single facet of being a football manager. But for me, it's his man management and it's his ability to get everybody pulled in the same direction, whether they be part of the best 11 or otherwise. Because you're right, to call upon the lads that he's done in recent weeks and in years gone by and get them to come in and perform at the level required has just been, it's a skill, it's an art form essentially in itself. Just on that, Jurgen Klopp recently, they've turned back to a brains trust of neuroscientists, it says here, to help Liverpool's quadruple bid. I mean, this falls right into your wheelhouse, essentially. What do you make of that? What do you make of outside sort of influence or help, I guess, in terms of Liverpool? That's just marginal gains again, isn't Liverpool trying to get the advantage?
Yeah, I think so. Look, there's plenty of expertise out there. I think we all call on, as a doctor, for instance, I would call on other specialists in particular areas, for instance, so, I'm sure that the science people do the same. I mean, none of us have all the answers, and that's when you get in trouble, when you think you have all the answers, and we can all learn from other people. On the other hand, you don't want too many opinions and so on. So, I think, you basically get input and get opinions from different people, put it all together, and then you put your own stamp on that and come up with a program. So, I'm a great one for getting, picking people's brains, basically, because I certainly don't profess to have all the answers, and no one does. But I know. I mean, we mentioned Darren Burgess before. He was always very good at that. He would pick other people's brains the whole time on what they were doing, and most of the time they probably weren't doing as much as him. But every now and then, they're doing this, and we should try this, and he'd look into it then, and he'd do all the research and to say, we can adjust this a little bit or try this. So you can always improve. I mean. When you get into trouble, the moment you say, we're doing a fantastic job here and, aren't we good, then that's when you get into trouble.
Well, that's where Jurgen Klopp's been at pains to say, pretty much throughout his Liverpool tenure really, how all of the credit shouldn't land on his door. He's been stressing the importance of Pep Linders alongside him. In the backroom staff generally, Michael Edwards when he was there and stuff like that, he's always been, like I say, absolutely adamant that it isn't all his credit.
No, it's a team effort, and you've all got to be pulling together. That's the secret. You need team players off the field as well as on the field. And, I've seen, teams destroyed by, people off the field with egos who, think it's all about them or, playing little games or, you've all just got to, just swallow your ego a little bit and just say, we're all in this together. What can I, the constant question is, what can I be doing? What can I do to make this team better. From a performance point of view, from an injury point of view, that's your constant. You got to be every morning. You got to wake up and say, okay, what can we do today, to make this team better? And there's always plenty of things you can do. And whatever they're doing.
I was going to say it's working.
Okay, aren't they?
Yeah, it's working at the minute. Long may that continue.
There's the intensity. I mean, like you, I've watched a lot of football. I don't think I've ever seen a team play with the intensity that Liverpool are playing with at the moment.
Does that change things from your perspective? Just finally then, because obviously, again, you've worked in different teams, different sports, whatever. Is the style of which a team goes about their business, does that influence your job? Because if you went to for Man City, to use that obvious example, they play in a passive is harsh, but it's quite slow. They keep the ball, etc. Whereas Liverpool, it's feral, it's intense. Does that change your job?
Yeah, of course. They can only do that if they have superb fitness levels. You look at some, especially the forwards. I mean, they're constantly sprinting. And that's hard work. I mean, to play at that intensity that Jurgen wants to play with, the fitness levels have to be quite above the average team, certainly, and I suspect that most of these players have taken their fitness to a completely new level that they've never thought they could get to, or thought it was important enough. But now it's just so important to play that way. I mean, whether you're not, there are obviously different ways to play, but that's the way they play, and it seems to work. But to do that, is enormously demanding. And it's not surprising they get injuries. I mean, the physical demands are more than any football team has ever done, really, I think. I can't remember a team playing with the intensity that Liverpool play with. Now, they have for short periods of time, but Liverpool seem to be able to sustain it for 90 minutes, and obviously they bring on, their 3 or 4 subs at 65 minutes or whatever, which helps maintain the intensity. But it's full on. And so that's a huge challenge for the fitness staff to get them to that level and then maintain that level without overcooking people and getting them injured and so on. So it's got to be a gradual process. You can't do this too quickly. No. As soon as you do it too quickly, that's when you get into trouble. So it takes time. And then you don't have a lot of time pre-season. So there's a lot of challenges in going about this. But, they've obviously they've done a fantastic job. I have to, give credit to the fitness staff. I mean, they really they deserve a lot of the credit, because without that, the Jurgen couldn't play the way that he wants to play. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, they deserve loads of plaudits. I quite agree with you. But yeah, just on Jurgen then, before I let you go, I could carry this on forever, by the way, you can probably tell. Speaking to a former fitness guy on cricket and football, this is literally my heaven. Just on Jurgen then, obviously we touched on it earlier on, he has announced he will be leaving. I mean, everything's been said. Superlatives have ran out for Jurgen Klopp essentially now, but it will be a sad old day because he's just been a phenomenal football manager, basically.
Yeah, an outstanding person, outstanding people person, manager. But look, I can quite understand why he's burnt out. I mean, it's massively demanding, and I think I don't think people. Well, maybe as a result of this, they might appreciate the fact that, the demands on a football team manager in a big club like Liverpool, but also the way he does it. I mean, he's involved in everything. He's embracing everything. He's talking to, sponsors, to fans, to players. I mean, he's constantly. I'm sure the club is constantly saying, "Oh, yeah, can you do this? Can you do that?" Because he's the face of the club, and so it's so multidimensional. If you just sort of coaching the football team, that's demanding enough. But all the other stuff that goes on, how many press conferences does he do a week? Too
many for his liking, I think.
Well, I think they all think that. Yeah. But I mean, constantly doing media interviews and so on. So there's never a break. And as he pointed out, over the summer, you don't really have a break. I mean, they're planning things. They're so. I'm not surprised at all that he wants to take a break, and I think he's deserved it. And for the pity is that he can't take sort of 6 months off and then come back. But the system doesn't sort of allow that really, or you can't really sort of have a month off. You could say you can have a month off, but still so he does need to have a complete break. But I reckon after 3 months he'll be bored. He'll want to do something. But
he can come back if he wants.
He needs that. But no, outstanding manager, outstanding person. And what he's done for this football club is quite remarkable. So he'll never be forgotten.
Hey, thank you so much for checking out the content today. If you want to get your name in and amongst these wonderful people, then head to redmenplus.com. Join as a Legend tier subscriber. You're going to get free merchandise codes. You're going to get in our Discord, and you're going to get your name at the end of YouTube videos. Yes, redmenplus.com, Legend tier status.